February 5 is not an ordinary date, and if you are hearing this right now, it is because something hath been scheduled in the unseen realm with your name on it. Today marks a moment of understanding, one that does not shout, but quietly insists on being recognized. This is not about pressure or fear. This is about alignment. There are moments when heaven does not push you forward, but instead stops you just long enough to say, "Look again." Listen carefully. This must be understood before the next step unfolds. And today is one of those moments. Archangel Michael's presence carries clarity, protection, and precision, and what he brings today is not noise, it is instruction. Not instruction for later, not instruction for someone else, but for you, right now, at this exact point in your journey. You may have felt recently that you are standing at the edge of something. Not lost but paused, as if movement was about to happen, yet something invisible said, "Wait." That waiting has not been wasted time. It has been a holding space for understanding. Because the next step you are about to take is not small, and heaven does not rush people into doors they are not fully prepared to walk through. February 5 arrives as a checkpoint, a moment where insight becomes more important than action. Archangel Michael speaks here because he guards thresholds. He does not only fight battles, he stands at gates, ensuring that what passes through is ready. This message comes with urgency, but not panic. The urgency is simple. Do not postpone what is being revealed. Understanding delayed becomes opportunity delayed. And this is why the words "don't wait, open this now" matter. Not because something bad will happen if you don't, but because something good has been waiting on your awareness. There are decisions you've been asking for clarity on. Paths you've been praying would become obvious. Strength you've been asking God to give you before you move forward. Today, the response is not a sudden external change. It is an internal unveiling, a knowing that settles in your spirit and rearranges how you see what's ahead. Archangel Michael brings a specific kind of understanding, one that cuts through confusion without shaming you for having been confused. He does not accuse you of being slow. He reassures you that timing has been intentional. The reason this matters so deeply is because the next step in your life requires discernment, not impulse. If you moved forward without this understanding, you would still move, but you would carry unnecessary weight with you. Heaven is merciful enough to say, "Let this be light," before it becomes movement. This is also a moment of confirmation. Many listening have been wondering if they missed something, misunderstood a sign, or delayed too long. Hear this clearly. You have not missed your moment. You are standing in it. Understanding is not a reward for perfection. It is a gift for humility. The willingness to pause and receive insight is what qualifies you for what comes next. And today, February 5 marks that pause becoming purposeful. There is a reason this message feels personal. Archangel Michael does not deliver vague warnings. What he shares today is precise because the next step unfolding in your life is precise. It will require confidence without aggression, courage without haste, and faith without pressure. This understanding will recalibrate how you respond to resistance, how you interpret delays, and how you recognize confirmation. What once felt like uncertainty will begin to feel like positioning. You are being asked to open something, not a document, not a door you can see, but an awareness. To open your perception to the idea that preparation does not always look like progress, yet it determines the quality of it. Heaven is ensuring that when you step forward, you do so with clarity instead of questions echoing behind you. This is protection disguised as patience. Let this moment settle. Let it speak to you beyond words. February 5 is not demanding action from you yet. It is offering understanding so that when action is required, you move with peace. Archangel Michael stands near, not to rush you, but to steady you. And as this understanding takes root, you will begin to sense it. The next step is closer than it has ever been, because now, you are being prepared to recognize it when it opens. There is a reason this message reached you today and not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now. Heaven does not interrupt randomly. When Archangel Michael steps into a moment like this, it is because something in your life is approaching a threshold, and awareness is required before movement resumes. You may have noticed subtle disruptions lately, plans slowing down, conversations repeating themselves, thoughts returning again and again to the same question. These are not distractions. They are invitations. Today is about recognizing that this interruption is intentional, and it carries protection within it. Many people misunderstand divine timing because they expect loud signs, but heaven often whispers before it moves. Archangel Michael's presence today is not about spectacle. It is about awakening. Awakening to what has already been forming beneath the surface. Awakening to the truth that you are not wandering, you are being positioned. This is why the understanding shared now matters more than rushing forward. The interruption you feel is not resistance. It is refinement. You are being asked to pause long enough to recognize what kind of step you are approaching. Some steps change direction. Others change identity. And the one ahead of you carries both. That is why clarity is essential. Archangel Michael does not reveal details to overwhelm you. He reveals enough to stabilize you. Enough so fear does not leave. Enough so doubt does not speak louder than faith. Enough so when the door opens, you recognize it without second guessing. This is also a moment of discernment. Not every open door is the right one, and not every delay is opposition. Heaven interrupts to sharpen your perception. What you are learning now will help you distinguish between what demands your energy and what drains it, between what looks urgent and what is truly important. Understanding acts like a filter, and once it settles, confusion loses its authority. There is something else happening here. You are not only receiving insight, you are being invited into participation. Messages like this are not meant to pass through you untouched. They ask for engagement, not just listening. That is why it matters that you acknowledge this moment. When you interact, when you respond, you are signaling readiness. Readiness to be aware. Readiness to move with intention. Readiness to partner with what heaven is doing rather than guessing your way forward. If this message resonates, take a moment to affirm it. Let your engagement be an act of alignment. Like this message, share it with someone who may also be standing at a threshold. And if you haven't already, subscribe so you remain connected to what is unfolding next. These actions are not just digital gestures. They are declarations that you are paying attention, that you value discernment, and that you are willing to receive what is revealed in its proper order. Archangel Michael's role here is protective, but also empowering. He does not want you moving forward unsure of yourself. He wants you anchored in truth, anchored in understanding, anchored in the knowledge that heaven does not abandon people at critical moments. He intervenes, and today's intervention is subtle but strong. It steadies your steps before the path changes beneath your feet. You may notice after today that certain things feel clearer without explanation. Decisions that once felt heavy may feel lighter. Not because the situation changed, but because your perspective did. That is the power of understanding. It doesn't always remove challenges. It removes the fog around them. And when the fog lifts, courage returns naturally. This interruption is also an invitation to trust yourself again. Doubt often creeps in during waiting seasons, making you question past decisions or future desires. But Archangel Michael reminds you that discernment grows in stillness. You are not less capable because you pause. You are more prepared. And the understanding you receive now will prevent unnecessary battles later. Do not underestimate this moment. February 5 is not marked by external drama, but by internal alignment. And alignment is what allows momentum to return without chaos. The next step will unfold smoothly because it will not catch you off guard. You will recognize it. You will feel peace alongside anticipation. And you will know that this interruption was not a delay, but a divine courtesy. Let this message settle deeply. Engage with it. Respond to it. Allow it to anchor you. Because when heaven interrupts, it is never to confuse you. It is to awaken you to what is already preparing to move. There is a hidden reason the next step has not opened yet, and it has nothing to do with failure, disobedience, or lack of faith. What you have been experiencing is not a closed door, but a door held steady by heaven until one crucial understanding settles fully within you. Archangel Michael reveals that some progress cannot be rushed because it must be carried, not chased. If you had stepped forward without this understanding, you would have arrived, but fragmented, unsure, and internally divided. Heaven values wholeness over speed. Many people assume delay means denial, but spiritually, delay often means alignment is still forming. There is a difference between being ready to move and being ready to sustain what comes with movement. The next step in front of you is not temporary, it has weight. It brings responsibility, visibility, and consequence. That is why understanding had to come first. Not surface-level awareness, but deep clarity that anchors you when pressure increases. Archangel Michael guards this stage carefully because what comes next requires stability of spirit, not just excitement of expectation. You may have noticed that your questions have changed recently. Instead of asking, "When will it happen?" you may have found yourself asking, "Am I seeing this clearly?" That shift is evidence that understanding is already forming. Heaven responds when your focus moves from timing to truth. The pause you are in has been refining your perception, teaching you how to see beneath appearances and recognize substance over urgency. This is preparation that cannot be skipped. There is also a misconception that understanding arrives all at once. Often, it comes as a quiet realization, a sentence that lingers in your thoughts, a sense of calm where anxiety once lived. Archangel Michael speaks in this way, firm, clear, and stabilizing. He does not overwhelm you with information. He gives you exactly what you need to move without confusion. And once that understanding is fully received, the door does not struggle to open. It responds naturally. This is why frustration hath been dissolving even before circumstances change. Understanding has been doing its work internally. You are being protected from stepping into something with unresolved doubt. Heaven is ensuring that when you advance, you do so with confidence rooted in truth, not emotion. The next step requires discernment because not everything ahead will announce itself loudly. You will need to recognize alignment without external validation, and that recognition begins now. Archangel Michael also reveals that this understanding is correcting a subtle misinterpretation you carried without realizing it. Something you assumed about yourself, your readiness, or the process itself. Once corrected, the weight you've been carrying lifts. You stop striving and start moving with intention. That is why this moment matters so deeply. It is not about doing more. It is about seeing correctly. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not being tested unnecessarily. You are being entrusted. Heaven does not entrust weighty steps to people who have not learned how to pause and listen. This understanding is proof that you are being taken seriously in the Spirit. And when that understanding locks into place, momentum returns, not chaotic, not rushed, but steady and purposeful. There is something else Archangel Michael wants you to know. Once this door opens, you will not close again. That is why it had to be approached with clarity. The next step is not experimental. It is directional. It sets a course, and the understanding you receive now becomes a compass you will rely on later. Without it, you would question yourself. With it, you will move decisively. Let this realization settle. Let it calm the urge to force outcomes. Understanding is the key, and it hath been forming within you all along. As it completes its work, you will notice signs aligning effortlessly. Conversations will confirm what you already know. Opportunities will feel familiar rather than intimidating. Peace will accompany anticipation. That is how you will know the door is responding. Hold this close, because what comes next builds on what you are understanding now. This is not the end of the message, it is the foundation. And you will be glad you stayed present for what is about to be revealed next, because it will change how you interpret everything that follows. Type "I receive clarity" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 639 is now activated. As this understanding settles, hear this clearly. What God is pouring into you is meant to flow through you to others. When you choose to support this mission through super thanks, membership, or PayPal donation, you are sowing light into places still waiting for clarity. The Lord says, as you release seed, I release harvest, and that word is alive right now. I feel led to tell you, your obedience in this moment carries impact far beyond what you can see. Just as this message reached you at the right time, your giving helps it reach another soul standing at their threshold. Do not hesitate when the Spirit prompts you. Give now through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on screen, and may heaven open streams of provision and peace over your life as you act in faith. Understanding carries weight in the spiritual realm, and what Archangel Michael reveals now is why this particular form of understanding has been so essential. There is a difference between gathering information and receiving understanding. Information informs the mind, but understanding restructures the spirit. You can have facts and still feel unstable. You can know what is happening and still not know how to stand in it. That is why heaven did not simply give you answers. It waited until you were ready to receive understanding that could support the next season of your life. Spiritual understanding changes how you interpret everything. It does not just explain events, it reframes them. What once looked like resistance begins to look like redirection. What felt like silence begins to feel like supervision. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this understanding is not optional because the next step ahead requires discernment that goes beyond logic. You are moving into a phase where decisions must be made from alignment, not pressure. And alignment comes only when understanding has settled deeply enough to guide you without anxiety. Many people rush past this stage because they mistake stillness for stagnation. But stillness is where understanding matures. It is where reactions soften and wisdom forms. You may have noticed that your responses to situations have changed recently. You are less reactive, more observant, less desperate for answers, more comfortable waiting for clarity. That shift is evidence that understanding is taking root. It is quiet, but it is powerful. Archangel Michael explains that understanding is what stabilizes you when circumstances shift quickly. Knowledge can be shaken. Emotion can fluctuate. But understanding anchors you. It allows you to remain steady even when outcomes are not immediately visible. This is crucial because the next step unfolding in your life will involve movement that happens faster than you expect. Without understanding, speed creates anxiety. With understanding, speed creates momentum. There is also a protective element to this understanding. It sharpens your awareness of what aligns with your calling and what does not. Not everything ahead is meant to be engaged with. Some opportunities will look appealing but lead away from your true path. Understanding acts as a filter, preventing distraction from masquerading as progress. Archangel Michael guards this filter carefully because once you step forward, discernment becomes your primary defense. This is why heaven delayed action until understanding matured. The next phase requires you to trust your inner clarity more than external validation. People may not immediately understand your choices. Situations may not offer instant confirmation. But understanding will give you the confidence to move without needing constant reassurance. That confidence is not arrogance. It is alignment. Understanding also brings emotional regulation. It calms the internal noise that often accompanies transition. Fear loses its grip because it thrives on uncertainty. When understanding enters, fear has nothing to feed on. You may still feel anticipation, but it will be paired with peace. That combination is a sign that you are moving correctly. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize that peace is not the absence of challenge, it is the presence of clarity. There is a deeper layer to this. Understanding connects your past, present, and future into a coherent story. Things that once felt random begin to make sense. Delays reveal purpose. Detours reveal protection. Even disappointments reveal instruction. This does not mean everything with easy or fair, but it does mean nothing with wasted. Understanding redeems experience by giving it meaning, and meaning strengthens resolve. As this understanding settles, you may feel less urgency to explain yourself to others. You will feel less need to justify your timing or your choices. That is because understanding answers questions internally before they are asked externally. Archangel Michael highlights this because the next step may require quiet obedience rather than loud announcement. Not every move needs to be broadcast. Some steps are meant to be taken with humility and confidence, not explanation. You are being prepared to move with discernment that feels natural rather than forced. Understanding becomes instinctive over time. It guides your attention, your decisions, and your responses. This is not something you strive to maintain. It is something that lives within you once received. And once it does, movement becomes smoother because resistance no longer confuses you. Do not underestimate the power of this stage. Understanding is not a pause in progress. It is the engine of it. Without it, effort increases but effectiveness decreases. With it, even small actions produce significant results. Archangel Michael's message here is clear. What you are receiving now is what will sustain you later. Let this understanding continue to deepen. Let it shape how you see what is ahead. Because as the next step unfolds, it will do so on the foundation being laid right now. And that foundation is strong, stable, and divinely secured. Before advancement comes reinforcement, and before promotion comes protection. This is where Archangel Michael speaks with unmistakable authority. What you are approaching is not merely a new opportunity. It is a new level of exposure, influence, or responsibility. And heaven never advances someone without first strengthening their defenses. This is why a warning comes before movement, not to frighten you, but to fortify you. Archangel Michael does not announce danger to create fear. He reveals truth to prevent unnecessary harm. A warning is subtle but firm. Do not confuse momentum with readiness. When things begin to move, there will be a temptation to hurry, to overextend, to prove yourself quickly. But Archangel Michael emphasizes restraint paired with courage. Strength is not measured by how fast you move, but by how well you remain grounded while moving. The next step will test your ability to stay centered when attention increases and expectations shift. This is not meant to overwhelm you. It is meant to mature you. There are spiritual pressures that accompany advancement. Increased clarity often attracts increased scrutiny, not just from people, but from circumstances that test your discernment. This is why protection must be established first. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian, reminding you that not every challenge requires engagement. Some require distance. Some require silence. Some require patience. Understanding this now will save you from unnecessary conflict later. One of the most important warnings is about boundaries. As you advance, more will be asked of you. Your time, your energy, your emotional availability. Without clear boundaries, even good opportunities can become draining. Archangel Michael urges you to recognize that saying no is sometimes an act of obedience. Protection is not only about defending against negativity, it is about preserving what is sacred within you. Your clarity, your peace, your focus, these are assets that must be guarded. There is also a warning about familiarity. When you step into something new, old patterns may try to follow you. Habits of self-doubt, over-explaining, or second-guessing can resurface under pressure. Archangel Michael calls you to be vigilant here. You are not the same person you were in the previous season. Carrying old responses into a new level will create friction. Awareness is your shield. The moment you recognize an old pattern trying to reassert itself, you disarm it. Another layer of this warning involves discernment with voices. As you advance, advice will increase. Opinions will multiply. Not all of them will be aligned with your assignment. Archangel Michael reminds you that clarity must come before counsel. Listen inwardly before listening outwardly. This does not mean rejecting wisdom from others, but filtering it through what you already understand. Protection comes from alignment, not isolation. There may also be moments when progress feels uncomfortable, not because it is wrong, but because it stretches you. The warning here is not to retreat at the first sign of discomfort. Growth often feels unfamiliar. Archangel Michael helps you distinguish between danger and development. One produces fear and confusion. The other produces stretching with peace underneath. Learning this distinction now prevents premature withdrawal later. This warning is also an assurance. You are not being sent forward unguarded. Archangel Michael's presence signals that what lies ahead matters enough to be protected. Heaven does not assign guardians to insignificant steps. The very fact that protection is emphasized reveals the value of what you are stepping into. You are being taken seriously, and that seriousness requires awareness. There is a quiet instruction woven into this warning. Remain teachable. Advancement does not mean arrival. It means increased responsibility to stay attentive. Pride dulls perception, but humility sharpens it. Archangel Michael warns against assuming you already know everything required. Understanding will continue to unfold as you move. Stay open. Stay observant. Stay responsive. This is not a warning meant to delay you. It is one meant to prepare you. Once these insights are integrated, fear loses its leverage. You move forward not naively, but confidently. Not defensively, but wisely. Protection becomes a posture rather than a reaction. Let this warning settle without anxiety. It is not predicting trouble, it is preventing it. Archangel Michael stands firm, ensuring that as you advance, you do so strengthened, aware, and covered. And with this protection in place, the path ahead becomes clearer, steadier, and far less intimidating than it once seemed. Before the next step unfolds outwardly, something must shift inwardly. Archangel Michael reveals that this season is not about changing your circumstances first, but about adjusting how you carry yourself within them. The inner adjustment heaven requires is subtle, yet powerful. It is not a complete transformation of who you are, but a realignment of how you see, respond, and trust. Without this adjustment, progress would feel heavy. With it, movement becomes natural. One of the first adjustments involves releasing the need to fully understand the entire path before taking the next step. Many delays are rooted in the desire for certainty. You may have wanted guarantees, confirmations stacked upon confirmations, or reassurance that every detail would work out. Archangel Michael explains that this level of certainty is not required for obedience. What is required is trust in the sequence. The next step will reveal what the next step requires. Clarity comes in motion, not before it. Another internal adjustment involves your relationship with control. Control often disguises itself as responsibility, but it can quietly limit faith. Heaven is asking you to loosen your grip, not to become careless, but to become receptive. There are elements ahead that cannot be managed, only received. This adjustment invites you to shift from managing outcomes to stewarding obedience. When you release control, peace enters. And peace is the environment where discernment thrives. Archangel Michael also speaks about expectation. Expectations formed from past experiences can unintentionally restrict what God is doing now. You may be anticipating the next step to look similar to something you've already walked through. But this season is different. The adjustment here is to let go of assumptions. Allow the next step to define itself rather than fitting into an old framework. New levels often arrive in unfamiliar forms. There is also emotional adjustment taking place. You are learning how to move without carrying the emotional residue of previous disappointments. Not because those moments didn't matter, but because they no longer define your capacity. Archangel Michael emphasizes that unresolved disappointment can cloud discernment. The adjustment is not denial, it is healing. As understanding deepens, emotional weight lifts. You begin to respond from stability rather than sensitivity. Another crucial adjustment involves how you measure progress. Heaven does not measure progress solely by visible results. Sometimes progress is internal alignment, increased peace, or sharpened awareness. You may not see immediate external changes, but internally, you are becoming more anchored. This anchoring is necessary because the next step will require you to remain steady even when outcomes fluctuate. Adjusting how you define progress prevents discouragement. Archangel Michael also highlights the importance of patience with yourself. Growth is happening, even if it feels quiet. The adjustment here is to stop interpreting quiet seasons as unproductive. Silence often precedes clarity. Stillness often precedes momentum. When you honor this process instead of resisting it, you move in harmony with divine timing rather than against it. There is a shift in identity occurring as well. You are stepping away from who you were required to be in order to survive, and into who you are becoming in order to lead, influence, or steward something greater. This identity adjustment may feel unfamiliar at first. You may feel moments of hesitation, as if you are shedding an old layer. Archangel Michael reassures you that this shedding is necessary. You cannot carry old armor into a new assignment. It no longer fits. Another internal realignment involves trust in your discernment. You are being asked to believe that the clarity you receive is valid. Doubting every insight slows momentum. While humility is important, self-distrust can become an obstacle. Archangel Michael encourages you to honor the understanding you've been given. Discernment grows stronger when it is exercised. The more you trust it, the clearer it becomes. This adjustment also affects how you respond to pressure. Pressure will not disappear, but your reaction to it will change. Instead of rushing, you will pause. Instead of reacting, you will observe. This does not mean indecision. It means intentionality. Pressure loses its power when it no longer dictates your pace. This internal shift is a form of spiritual maturity. Finally, Archangel Michael speaks of surrender, not as weakness but as strength. Surrendering the need to have everything resolved before moving forward allows heaven to work alongside you. The adjustment is to walk with trust rather than certainty, with faith rather than full visibility. This posture invites guidance at every step. Let these adjustments take place gently. There is no rush. As they settle, you will feel lighter, clearer, and more prepared. The next step will not feel forced. It will feel aligned. And when it unfolds, you will recognize that this inner adjustment was the final preparation, quiet, necessary, and divinely timed. As understanding settles and inner alignment takes shape, signs begin to emerge, not dramatic announcements, but quiet confirmations that you are ready for the next step. Archangel Michael reveals that readiness is not marked by perfection, but by stability. The signs you are about to recognize are subtle shifts that indicate your spirit is prepared to move without losing balance. These signs do not shout, they reassure. One of the first signs is emotional steadiness. Situations that once triggered anxiety or overthinking no longer carry the same charge. You may still notice challenges, but they do not destabilize you. There is a calm beneath the surface, a sense that you can handle what comes without rushing or retreating. This emotional regulation is not indifference, it is maturity. Archangel Michael points to this as a key indicator that you are no longer reacting from fear, but responding from clarity. Another sign is discernment becoming instinctive. You may find yourself knowing what to do, or what not to do, without lengthy deliberation. Decisions feel cleaner. You are less torn between options because alignment is clearer. This does not mean every choice is easy, but it means confusion no longer dominates the process. When discernment flows naturally, it signals readiness. You are no longer dependent on constant reassurance to validate your direction. You may also notice a shift in how you perceive time. Urgency fades, replaced by intentional pacing. You no longer feel pressured to rush simply to feel productive. Instead, you feel confident waiting when waiting is required and moving when movement is appropriate. This balance is a strong sign of readiness because it reflects trust in timing rather than anxiety about outcomes. Archangel Michael emphasizes that those who are ready do not panic about pace, they honor it. Another confirmation appears in your boundaries. You become more comfortable protecting your energy without guilt. Saying no feels clearer. Saying yes feels more deliberate. You are no longer easily swayed by external demands that conflict with internal clarity. This boundary awareness is crucial because the next step will require sustained focus. Readiness includes knowing what not to carry forward. There is also a noticeable change in how you interpret resistance. Instead of seeing obstacles as signs to stop, you evaluate them with discernment. You ask whether resistance is a warning, a refinement, or simply part of the process. This ability to interpret rather than react is a sign of preparedness. Archangel Michael highlights this because many people retreat too early, mistaking normal resistance for misalignment. You are learning the difference. Peace is another significant indicator. Not passive comfort, but grounded peace that coexists with anticipation. You may feel excited about what's ahead without feeling consumed by it. This balance suggests emotional readiness. When excitement does not override wisdom, you are positioned to move forward responsibly. Peace acts as confirmation that your spirit is aligned with the direction unfolding. You may also notice changes in your conversations. You speak with more clarity and less explanation. You do not feel compelled to convince others of your direction. There is confidence without defensiveness. This shift indicates that you are no longer seeking external permission to move forward. Readiness often manifests as quiet assurance rather than loud declarations. Another sign appears in how you handle uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, you accept it as part of growth. You may not have all the details, but you trust the guidance you have received. This trust does not eliminate questions, it places them in perspective. Archangel Michael notes that readiness is marked by comfort with partial visibility. You do not need the full map to take the next step. You might also experience confirmation through alignment rather than coincidence. Things begin to connect effortlessly. Information arrives at the right time. Conversations affirm what you already sense internally. These are not random. They are indicators that your internal alignment is syncing with external circumstances. When readiness is present, confirmation becomes subtle and consistent. Another important sign is compassion for yourself. You are less critical of your process. You recognize growth rather than focusing on perceived shortcomings. This self-compassion creates resilience. It allows you to move forward without being weighed down by self-judgment. Archangel Michael affirms that readiness includes kindness toward your own development. Finally, there is a deepening sense of trust, not just in God, but in the preparation that has brought you here. You no longer feel like you are guessing your way forward. Even if the path is still unfolding, you trust that you are equipped for it. This trust is the culmination of understanding, adjustment, and discernment working together. These signs are not meant to pressure you. They are meant to reassure you. They confirm that the work done in stillness has been effective. You are not stepping forward unprepared. You are stepping forward grounded, aware, and protected. And as these signs continue to surface, they quietly affirm what heaven already knows. You are ready for what comes next. When you open this message fully, not just hearing it, but allowing it to settle into your awareness, something begins to shift in a way that feels both gentle and undeniable. Archangel Michael reveals that openness is the final catalyst. Understanding prepared you. Adjustment aligned you. Readiness confirmed you. But openness activates movement. This is the moment where internal clarity starts translating into external change, not through force, but through flow. What happens first is internal momentum. You may notice renewed energy where there was once hesitation. Tasks that felt heavy begin to feel manageable. Decisions no longer drain you in the same way. This is not because circumstances have dramatically changed overnight, but because resistance inside you has loosened. Archangel Michael explains that when understanding and openness meet, stagnation loses its grip. You begin moving again, not frantically, but confidently. Another shift occurs in perception. You start seeing options where before you saw walls. Conversations take on new meaning. Information lands differently. It's as if your perspective widens just enough to reveal paths that were always there but previously obscured by doubt or fear. This clarity does not overwhelm you. It empowers you. You are no longer searching desperately for signs. You are recognizing alignment as it appears. Opening this message fully also initiates a release. Old tension begins to dissolve. You may not consciously identify what you are letting go of, but you feel lighter. Archangel Michael emphasizes that some burdens leave quietly. They do not announce their departure. They simply no longer have permission to stay. This release creates space, and space invites movement. You may also notice a change in how you approach prayer, reflection, or stillness. Here is less striving and more listening, less asking and more receiving. This shift signals trust. When you trust that guidance is present, you no longer feel the need to demand it. Archangel Michael highlights this as a key sign that you have opened yourself to partnership rather than control. Externally, subtle changes begin to appear. Timelines adjust. Delays soar. The responses come quicker. Not everything accelerates at once, but momentum builds steadily. This is important because sudden, unanchored change can be destabilizing. What unfolds now does so in a way that you can sustain. Heaven is not interested in overwhelming you. It is interested in advancing you. Opening this message also strengthens discernment in real time. When situations arise, you respond with clarity rather than confusion. You trust your initial sense more. Second-guessing loses influence. This confidence does not make you rigid. It makes you responsive. You adapt without losing direction. Archangel Michael explains that this flexibility is essential for what comes next. Another result of openness is peace accompanying progress. You may still feel anticipation, but it is no longer mixed with anxiety. Instead, there is a calm expectation, a sense that things are unfolding as they should. This peace is not passive. It is active reassurance. It allows you to move forward without carrying fear into each decision. You may also find that your priorities sharpen. Distractions lose appeal. What once demanded your attention no longer feels necessary. This is not loss, it is focus. Archangel Michael notes that openness clarifies value. You become more selective, not out of scarcity, but out of alignment. This focus preserves energy for what truly matters. As you continue opening yourself to this message, confirmation becomes less dramatic but more consistent. You stop looking for one overwhelming sign and start recognizing many small affirmations. Consistency replaces intensity. This steadiness builds trust. You are no longer bracing for disruption. You are expecting guidance. There is also a strengthening of courage. Not loud bravery, but quiet resolve. You are willing to take the next step even if it feels unfamiliar. Fear no longer dictates your choices. It may still appear, but it does not lead. Archangel Michael emphasizes that this courage is born from understanding, not from pressure. This moment is not the conclusion. It is the transition. What unfolds next builds on what has already shifted within you. And as you stand here, open and aware, something important must be remembered. What you are stepping into will require continued attentiveness. What comes next will deepen everything revealed so far. And you will want to remain present for it, because the next revelation changes how you walk forward from here. Type "I am ready" in the comments if this resonates with you. Lesson code 842 is now activated. As this shift begins and momentum returns, hear this invitation clearly. What God is releasing through this message is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow like a river to others who are still waiting for clarity. When you activate Super Thanks, become a member, or give through PayPal, you are sowing seed into open ground, and heaven responds to obedience swiftly. The Spirit says, "What you release in faith, I multiply in purpose." This is not a donation. It is a prophetic response. I feel led to say that your giving right now carries weight and timing. Act now through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on screen, and may God bless your seed with peace, provision, and increase. There comes a point where understanding must be answered, not just acknowledged. Archangel Michael makes it clear that this is that point. The call now is not to rush, but to respond. Response is different from reaction. Reaction is driven by pressure. Response is guided by clarity. You are not being asked to leap blindly. You are being asked to step deliberately, with awareness of what has already been revealed. Hesitation at this stage does not come from wisdom, it comes from habit. And habits must not be allowed to override discernment. Many people lose momentum not because they lack guidance, but because they wait for perfect conditions. Archangel Michael warns that perfect conditions rarely arrive before movement. They form because of movement. The clarity you have received was not meant to sit idle. It was meant to activate obedience. The next step may feel smaller than expected, almost ordinary, but it carries weight because it aligns you with what heaven has prepared. Response turns preparation into progress. There is also a distinction you must recognize here. Hesitation can disguise itself as caution, but caution rooted in fear delays what faith is ready to sustain. Archangel Michael urges you to examine what is truly holding you back. Is it lack of clarity or fear of responsibility? Is it wisdom or comfort with familiarity? The answer matters because the season ahead requires courage that is calm, not frantic. Response does not mean abandoning discernment. It means trusting it. This is why engagement matters right now. When you respond outwardly to what resonates inwardly, you reinforce alignment. If this message has been speaking to you, acknowledge it. Comment, share, and subscribe, not as routine actions, but as declarations that you are choosing awareness over passivity. These responses anchor your intention. They mark the moment you chose to stay engaged with what God is unfolding rather than drifting past it. Archangel Michael emphasizes that response also involves participation. Faith is not passive agreement, it is active alignment. You are not required to know every detail before responding. You are required to trust what you have already understood. The next step will not reveal itself to spectators. It reveals itself to participants, those willing to move when clarity calls. There may be a lingering voice telling you to wait a little longer, to think it through one more time. Discernment has its place, but over-deliberation can become avoidance. Archangel Michael's message is clear. You have been prepared. You have been aligned. You are ready to respond. Waiting beyond this point does not increase clarity. It risks dulling it. Response keeps understanding alive. This does not mean forcing outcomes. Response can be subtle. It can be a conversation you initiate, a decision you finalize, a boundary you reinforce, or a step you've delayed taking because of uncertainty. The size of the step is less important than the direction. Forward movement, even measured, shifts spiritual momentum. Heaven responds to direction, not speed. There is also a communal aspect to this response. When you engage, you strengthen not only your alignment but the alignment of others connected to this message. Shared response creates shared momentum. That is why your interaction matters. When you like, comment, or share, you are participating in a collective awareness that amplifies clarity. This is not about algorithms. It is about agreement. Archangel Michael also speaks about accountability. Response marks responsibility. Once you respond, you cannot return to unawareness. That is not a burden. It is a privilege. It means you are being trusted to steward what you know. And stewardship always precedes expansion. The next step unfolds to those who demonstrate they can carry insight without ignoring it. As you respond, pay attention to how peace accompanies movement. Even if nerves arise, peace will remain underneath. That peace is confirmation. Fear may question, but peace affirms. Learn to follow peace rather than silence fear. Silence rarely exists at moments of growth. Peace, however, is reliable. Do not underestimate the power of timely response. Many delays in life are not caused by lack of opportunity, but by delayed obedience. Archangel Michael's call is gentle but firm. Now is the time to move with intention. The door ahead responds to motion, not contemplation alone. And remember this: what you are stepping into does not require you to become someone else. It requires you to be fully present as who you are now. The preparation you've undergone was not to change your identity, but to stabilize it. Response is simply the expression of that stability. Stay attentive here, because what comes next builds directly on this moment of response. The assurance that follows will strengthen you even further. And you will be grateful you chose to respond now, because what is about to be revealed brings protection and confidence in ways you may not yet expect. As you respond and begin to move with intention, Archangel Michael brings a deep assurance that settles fear and strengthens resolve. This assurance is not emotional comfort alone. It is spiritual reinforcement. You are being reminded that you do not step forward unguarded. The next phase of your journey is not something you must survive on your own strength. It is something you are escorted into. Protection is not an afterthought. It is built into the process. Archangel Michael is known as a defender, but his protection is not always dramatic. Often, it works quietly, preventing what you never see. Missed conflicts, delayed confrontations, routed paths. These are forms of protection just as powerful as visible intervention. As you move into the next step, this assurance becomes essential because growth often attracts attention. Not all attention is harmful, but discernment must increase alongside visibility. This assurance steadies you so that awareness does not turn into anxiety. There is also assurance against fear of failure. Many hesitate at new levels because they fear making irreversible mistakes. Archangel Michael reassures you that correction is part of guidance. You are not expected to navigate perfectly. You are expected to remain responsive. Protection includes redirection. If a step needs adjusting, you will be guided. This assurance frees you from paralysis. You are allowed to move knowing that heaven remains involved. Another layer of this assurance is emotional safety. Advancement can stir old insecurities, especially when stakes feel higher. You may wonder if you are enough, capable enough, prepared enough. Archangel Michael counters this with a steady reminder: you would not be here if you were not equipped. The preparation you received was not theoretical. It was practical, internal, and intentional. This assurance anchors your confidence in truth rather than comparison. You are also being assured that you will recognize when something is not aligned. Discernment had been sharpened for this reason. You are not walking blindly into the future. You are walking attentively. This awareness acts as a shield. When something does not belong on your path, you will sense it. When something requires caution, you will feel it. Protection often manifests as clarity rather than confrontation. Archangel Michael also assures you that opposition does not equal failure. Resistance may appear, but it does not indicate misdirection. Growth naturally creates friction. The difference now is that you are not interpreting resistance emotionally. You are evaluating it discernibly. This assurance keeps you from retreating unnecessarily. It reminds you that perseverance and wisdom can coexist. There is assurance as well regarding timing. You are not too early, and you are not too late. This step unfolds in divine order. Rushing ahead would have destabilized you. Waiting longer would have dulled momentum. This moment is balanced. Archangel Michael emphasizes that protection includes timing. being in the right place with the right understanding at the right moment. Alignment reduces unnecessary struggle. Another reassurance involves relationships. Not everyone will understand your movement forward, and some connections may shift. This is not loss, it is alignment. Archangel Michael assures you that what leaves now creates space for what supports the next phase. You are not being stripped, you are being streamlined. Protection includes pruning what cannot sustain where you are going. This assurance also speaks to endurance. The next step is not a sprint, it is a sustained walk. You will need resilience, not urgency. Archangel Michael reassures you that strength will be replenished along the way. You are not required to carry everything at once. Grace will meet you daily. This understanding prevents burnout before it begins. As fear loses its voice, confidence grows quieter but stronger. You are no longer trying to convince yourself that you can do this. You know you can. That knowing is calm. It does not need constant affirmation. It is rooted in assurance. And assurance produces steadiness. Let this protection settle around you. It does not restrict you. It frees you. It allows you to move forward without scanning constantly for danger. You are attentive but not tense. Prepared but not defensive. This balance is the mark of mature faith. Archangel Michael's assurance is clear. You are covered, guided, and supported as you move into what unfolds next. You do not walk alone, and you do not walk unaware. With this assurance in place, the path ahead becomes less intimidating and more inviting. And as you continue, you will notice confidence replacing caution, clarity replacing fear, and peace accompanying every step forward. As assurance settles and fear releases its grip, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. The timeline itself starts to shift. Archangel Michael reveals that this shift is not always dramatic or immediately visible, but it is precise. Timelines do not move randomly. They respond to alignment. When understanding, response, and assurance come together, movement is initiated in the unseen before it appears in the seen. What you are experiencing now is the beginning of that recalibration. You may notice that things begin to happen with less resistance. Situations that once felt stalled start progressing without force. Conversations move forward naturally. Delays shorten. Opportunities reappear in refined form. This is not coincidence. It is alignment taking effect. Archangel Michael explains that when your internal posture changes, external timing adjusts to meet it. You are no longer pushing against the current. You are moving with it. This timeline shift does not mean everything accelerates at once. Some things move quickly. Others unfold gradually. The key difference now is that movement feels purposeful rather than frustrating. Even waiting feels different. There is expectation instead of anxiety. You trust that what is unfolding is doing so in the correct order. This trust stabilizes you while momentum builds. Another sign of the timeline shifting is clarity around priorities. You become more decisive about where your energy goes. Tasks that once felt urgent lose importance, while others gain significance. This reordering is part of the shift. Archangel Michael highlights that when timing aligns, focus sharpens. You are no longer scattered. You are intentional. And intention accelerates progress without strain. You may also observe changes in how others respond to you. People become more receptive. Doors that once felt closed soften. Communication improves. This is not manipulation. It is resonance. When you are aligned, your presence carries clarity. That clarity influences interactions, opening pathways that were previously inaccessible. The timeline responds not only to what you do, but to who you are becoming. There is also a shift in how you interpret setbacks. Instead of viewing them as failures, you see them as adjustments. This perspective keeps momentum intact. Archangel Michael emphasizes that flexibility is essential during timeline shifts. When you remain adaptable, redirection does not feel like delay. It feels like guidance. And guidance keeps you moving forward, even when the route changes. You may begin to sense that certain things are no longer available to you, not because they are forbidden, but because they no longer align. Old options fade. Familiar paths lose appeal. This narrowing is not loss, it is refinement. As the timeline adjusts, distractions fall away naturally. You are being guided toward what fits the new pace and direction of your journey. Another aspect of this shift is internal confidence in timing. You no longer feel compelled to compare your progress with others. Comparison fades when alignment is strong. You understand that your timeline is specific to your calling. Archangel Michael reassures you that there is no competition here. What is unfolding for you cannot be rushed by imitation or delayed by difference. It unfolds according to divine precision. You may also experience confirmation through peace rather than excitement. While anticipation remains, it is grounded. You are not chasing outcomes, you are cooperating with process. This calm expectation allows you to recognize when to act and when to wait. Timing becomes intuitive rather than forced. This intuition is a sign that the timeline shift is active. There is also an increase in synchronicity. Things line up with minimal effort. Information arrives at the right moment. Needs are met in unexpected ways. These are not accidents. They are indicators that alignment has activated flow. Archangel Michael points out that flow is the natural state of aligned timelines. When resistance decreases, provision increases. As the timeline shifts, you may feel a renewed sense of purpose. Not pressure to perform, but clarity about direction. You know what matters. You know what to release. You know what to pursue. This clarity prevents wasted motion. You are no longer moving out of habit. You are moving with intention. It is important to remain attentive during this phase. Timeline shifts require awareness. Stay present. Notice what is changing. Honor what is ending. Embrace what is beginning. Archangel Michael encourages you to move forward with gratitude rather than urgency. Gratitude stabilizes momentum and keeps alignment intact. This is not the end of the process. It is the confirmation that the process is working. The shift you sense now will continue to unfold in layers. Each layer builds on the last. And as this alignment deepens, you will recognize that what once felt delayed was actually being prepared. Hold steady here. Trust what you are seeing and sensing. The timeline is responding. Movement is underway. And what comes next will bring a sense of completion and upliftment that reminds you why this journey required patience, understanding, and faith. As this message comes to its completion, Archangel Michael brings not an ending, but a sealing. What has been revealed across these moments now settles into assurance, clarity, and quiet strength. This is the place where understanding becomes confidence, where preparation becomes peace, and where movement becomes trust. You are not standing at uncertainty anymore. You are standing in alignment. And alignment always carries calm authority. Everything you have received was not meant to overwhelm you, but to steady you. The pauses, the insights, the inner adjustments, the confirmations, and even the shifts in timing were all working together for one purpose: to prepare you to move forward without fear. Archangel Michael affirms that you are not behind, not forgotten, and not unprotected. You are precisely where you need to be for what unfolds next. This closing moment is important because it reminds you of something essential. You are not walking this path alone. Guidance did not stop when this message began, and it will not stop when it ends. What has opened within you continues to work beyond words. Understanding does not disappear, it deepens. Assurance does not fade, it strengthens. The peace you feel now is not temporary, it is foundational. There may still be unknowns ahead. That is part of faith. But the difference now is that unknowns no longer threaten you. They invite you. You have been equipped to move forward without needing full visibility. Trust has replaced tension. Discernment has replaced doubt. And confidence has replaced hesitation. These are not emotional states. They are spiritual postures. Archangel Michael leaves you with this assurance. The next step will not require you to abandon who you are. It will require you to be fully present as who you have become. The preparation you went through refined you, not restricted you. What unfolds next builds on your growth, your clarity, and your courage. Nothing was wasted. As you move forward, remember that peace is your confirmation. When peace remains, alignment is present. When clarity persists, guidance is active. When confidence feels calm rather than loud, you are walking correctly. Let these be your markers. Let them guide you more than noise or urgency ever could. This is also a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for what has already shifted. Gratitude for what is still unfolding. Gratitude anchors you in the present while keeping your heart open to the future. Archangel Michael reminds you that gratitude sustains alignment longer than striving ever could. You are stepping into a season where movement feels natural, not forced. Where progress feels steady, not chaotic. Where trust feels reasonable, not risky. This does not mean challenges disappear, but it does mean you face them equipped rather than exposed. Strength walks with you now, not the kind that pushes, but the kind that steadies. As this message closes, take a moment to breathe. Let everything settle. You do not need to rush into the next thing. You will recognize it when it appears. The clarity you have received ensures that. The protection surrounding you supports that. And the peace within you confirms it. Archangel Michael's final word here is simple and powerful. You are ready. You are guided. And you are not alone. Walk forward with trust. Walk forward with awareness. Walk forward knowing that heaven has already gone before you. Type "I walk in peace" in the comments if this message has spoken to you. Blessing code 915 is now activated. As this message seals and peace settles over you, hear this final call clearly. What God has released through this word is meant to multiply beyond you, reaching others who are still waiting for understanding. When you give through super thanks, membership, or PayPal, you are sowing into living soil, and the Lord declares, "What you place in my hands, I breathe life into." I speak this directly to you. Your obedience in this moment carries spiritual weight. This is not charity. It is partnership with heaven's work. Act now through the PayPal link in the description or the QR code on screen, and may your giving return to you pressed down with peace, clarity, and divine increase.